Yeah, we can make it bigger.
Hi everyone, so we're going to get going now, so I'll hand it over.
Hi everyone. So today we're going to use a website called Nearpod. So if you want to go on nearpod.com, they'll ask you for a pin, and this is the pin up here. You can go straight on the website, or if you want to download the app. So I use this a lot for my classes, and it really helps me because I teach at 8 in the morning. And it helps me create an interactive environment for the students. So as we go through this, we'll swipe, and the presentation will swipe, and then we'll ask you questions, and you'll get a chance to answer them and give feedback. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll actually be giving you this to take home with you. So let's click here. Back to the beginning. And my lovely sister in the background, she's going to introduce us. The entrance is the most important.
Right? Hi, thanks for coming on this lovely Saturday and being here with your notebooks. I feel like we're like in class right now. My name is Amberly Reyes, and together with my sister Andrea, our company is called A Bernadette. And we are educators, first and foremost. I am a New York City public school teacher, which is like the big 5-word title. And my sister is a professor at Berkeley College. Our company is called A Bernadette, and we work with artisans in Uganda. And throughout our presentation today, we're going to talk about our company. We're going to talk about our experiences working with companies in New York City, around the world, and the title of our presentation today is Why DIY? And DIY, do it yourself. We're putting ourselves in the mindset of actors. We are the ones who make the choices and perform the actions. In a DIY mentality, you are a consumer and a producer. You are an entrepreneur and a participant. So open your mind. You are that primary actor in today's presentation. So this is our agenda for today. We're going to talk about our business, A Bernadette. We're going to talk about the definition of sustainability, and we're going to ask you all to contribute to that definition today. We're going to talk about the fashion industry. So we're going to talk about the different components of the fashion industry and how we interact with the industry. Why do we DIY? Why is that important? Why is that something we should focus on now? Why is it important in the fashion industry? And how can the early adopter be an influencer? How do we interact with the fashion industry, and how do our choices impact the whole industry? And what is the future of sustainability? What do we do when we walk out the door? How do our conversations and our discussions today, how do we carry them out? So we are A Bernadette. We work with artisans in Uganda to create accessories from recycled and natural materials. Our emphasis really is turning trash into treasure. How do we take things that would be in the waste stream, that would be refuse, that would break down on the side of the road? How do we take them and commodify them through applying different kinds of skills? So the artisans we work with have many traditional skills, weaving, sewing, different craft skills. How do we combine that with modern design and the global kind of product stream that we all interact with? And I want to show you, this video is a little bit dated. Was it 3 years, 4 years?
We look so much younger.
We look so much younger. Oh my gosh, we look so much younger. No.
This really highlights the 3 pillars of our business, which is selling products, education and workshops in New York, and also what we call voluntourism. So we actually bring students from New York and America and other countries to Uganda to really be transparent and to show them how to work with cooperative businesses, how we work with cooperative businesses, and really how complex it is. It's not something that is so
Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm singing.
Is it?
That's all the way up. Do you know how we can volumize? I mean, I can just voice over the whole thing, but it's much better.
I think this is
No,
it.
this right here. Here we go. Let's try that.
We can skip the singing part.
No.
Oh,
Birthday song, it isn't very long. Hey. I am Andrea Reyes. I'm one of the co-founders of EcoHabitude. My name is Amber Reyes, and I am the other co-founder of EcoHabitude. EcoHabitude is a company that works with 100 women in Uganda, making items from recycled materials. We use their traditional weaving techniques to make these unique accessories. Andrea is the designer of the products. And my role is embedded in strategic planning. Our company is composed of a triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. We want to highlight the commonalities that we're small business owners here. And the women that we work with, they are small business owners there. We're just as much accountable and responsible as they are. We want to do the best that we can with what we have, and that means talking to the people we work with and being really honest, talking to our customers and being really honest. How we view our products are really as a promotional piece. This is a way that we can start to tell the story of other people in Uganda. And that all goes to the hope that people will come with us. For volunteerism, we ourselves are bridges. We're able to bring that passion back and forth. How we really want to make that bridge strong is to connect the women with people in America. When we talk about our future goals and objectives, I think sweet thinking face. Thinking. Okay. It's a careful analysis, Andrea. It's a careful analysis.
Are we going somewhere really deep?
It's like come on, let's bust up word 5. A trip with us to Uganda is not like anything else. We're going there to do real work. Every time we go back, it's a new adventure. You will see things and dance in ways that will affect you profoundly. You need to experience certain things on your own for it to actually have a meaningful impact. Come with us and we're going to have a good time.
So that is who we are. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about our ethics and our model and what we consider sustainability. So often people use this word, we're a sustainable company. I don't think 70% of them know what sustainable means. You can call yourself a green company, you can say you're fair trade, but that doesn't mean that you're sustainable, right? So when we look at our sustainability, the definition, able to be maintained at a certain rate or level. And we break it down into people, planet, and profit. And all of these things are connected, right? So if I treat my workers fairly, I pay them well, I give them a proper amount of the days off, and I say proper because each country is different. Holidays, I'm more likely to retain my employees, have loyal employees, and that's going to affect the ultimate bottom line, my dollar amount, right? I'm less likely to lose those employees and it'll retain them, and that creates a healthier business. And the same goes for the planet. If I trash the environment that I work in, I can no longer work in that environment. So it's important for us in all the business decisions we make to see kind of how it affects each one of these categories, and how at the end of the day, it creates a healthier company that we can grow for years and years to come.
Can I just, and the categories, it's a great tagline, people, planet, profit, and it's useful to help analyze the company and to talk about priorities, but so many of those things overlap. Don't look at them as separate boxes, like we benefit the planet, and that is our primary influence. If you're benefiting the planet, if you're doing things that are environmentally responsible, chances are that you're benefiting the people, because people are an integral part of that environment. So it's a great graphic to see how all the different variables kind of influence, but it's also important to think about them in a more holistic, connected sort of way.
And so often you have to compromise, because if I wanted to be truly sustainable, I should not exist, right? I just standing here, I'm producing carbon, I'm producing waste. So I have to think about, okay, I'm going to Uganda, I'm using my carbon footprint to take the flight there and the oil that takes, but then I'm going to make and produce all these products from recycled materials that were once in America that have made their way over to Uganda, and then I have to bring them back and once again on a plane again. So it's constantly weighing what is in my mind, because it's really my ethics or our business ethics to determine the decisions that we make. And it's complex. So before we dig deep into sustainability and the different categories that are swirling around in the industry today, I wanted to look at the fashion industry. So we have our lovely chart here where we have our mass market group, which is our H&Ms and our Forever 21s, and these mammoth companies that just produce unfathomable amount of garments that are just being churned out. And I think all of us here today, it kind of breaks our heart to know that all the clothing that you've ever worn is probably still on this planet. All of the clothing, your baby clothes, are probably in some landfill. And not in some landfill necessarily, well, maybe we had cotton and maybe they biodegraded, but chances are anything being produced today, it's still there. So we see sustainability all the way at the top. We've hit this point where the sustainability industry, I say it's like a toddler. It's walking and it's talking. New companies are emerging, new babies are being born. But for the most part, we're still trying to figure out our way and figure out what it all means. And now that these new babies are being born, they're looking towards these companies that are maybe 5, 10 years old and seeing what they've done and what they've learned. And it's exciting to see companies now being able to hire people. And it's a really exciting time, especially as a professor, because I tell my students, you're the ones who are pushing the industry. You're the ones going on the interview, and maybe it's not a sustainable company, but maybe you're going to the interview of the big corporation and you're saying, oh, so what's your CSR policy? What's your corporate social responsibility policy? And they may be squirming in their chairs going, oh, I don't have one. Maybe we need to get one. Maybe we're gonna miss out on this talent that's emerging from fashion schools or from schools that wanna be in our company. So it's growing, and what we really want it to look like is this, right? Because right now, if sustainability is at the top, it's really only marketing to a certain group of people. So often we see affluent, maybe one body type. I see a lot of, I see a lot of the fashions that come out in the sustainability industry. I don't think they really fit me. I don't think they really cater to my style. Some things do, but what we want to have happen is for there to be sustainability within the mass market, within the middle market. And as we know, the middle market is even getting squeezed out, because the middle market used to be the Macy's and other department stores. But once a garment goes on the floor, 17 days later, it gets marked down. So all of a sudden, it gets marked down and it becomes almost that mass item again, right? That middle price is kind of missing. So looking at, we could talk about the industry all day long, and companies like H&M and their green movements and what's good and what's bad about it. But I want to go more niche and talk about what's going on in the sustainability industry. Because I think it's really interesting, all the catchwords that are coming out, all the catchphrases. So we have fair trade, we have low carbon footprint, vegan, handmade, upcycled, recycled, zero waste, all different logos here, all different characteristics. So what is the problem with having all these different characteristics, right? it's wonderful. You want to adopt as many of these as possible, but as a marketer, it is extremely difficult for me to communicate to my customer all the things that I'm doing. Imagine I do all of these things in my company, but I have 15 seconds to tell you what I do. Like, we have that problem all the time. I say, I work with ladies in Uganda and we make things from recycled material. Boom. That's all I get. I can't talk about that it is vegan, right? That it is conflict-free, that it is low carbon footprint. So what we hope to do, and what I hope other sustainable companies do, is they start by having that one tagline, that one mission statement, and hopefully you, the customers, will follow that brand, will continue to support that brand, and they'll deepen the conversation as it goes on. It's very interesting to look and see how companies like Starbucks evolved. If you look at Starbucks logo, it hasn't been the same since the beginning. These things grow and change and develop. Like I said, I always think of my business as my baby. It's growing, it's changing. It's not yet able to stand on its own. I hope 18 years from now, I can send it away and go on vacation for a little while. But the conversation is always changing around how I define my business and maybe the characteristics that I want to present based on maybe what is most important to the market that I'm speaking to, because we've done vegan markets, and obviously I'm going to talk more about how we use no animal products. So it's difficult for companies to pinpoint exactly what feature they want to present. So here is EcoHabitude. Has anybody ever heard of EcoHabitude? Maybe this will help me. Well, it's not letting me. Let me go here.
Yeah, I would open it.
EcoHabitude is a new way to shop online. We have just done our online store, and this is a great resource for anyone who wants to get stuck on pop-ups. Okay, there we go. So right down here, product footprint. So each product that I posted on our online store, I had to click which one of these, which characteristic it classifies as. So this is a great source if any of you are interested in learning exactly what all these different words mean. Fair trade. I had no idea what fiber shed meant until yesterday. Fiber shed meant that the entire garment was made within 150 mile radius of where it's sold. Fascinating. I didn't know that was the thing until recently. So this is a great resource if you want to know GMO free, so many different points. And now we think about a normal fashion company and how many of these are they breaking? How many of these do they even know that customers are looking for? And then the other source that I also like for more of these categories is this website here. It's just not letting me actually have it be a website. Fashion sewing was it Eco Fashion Sewing. Let's see if I can find it. And they have I may have to skip over this, but it's similar to what we looked at on EcoHabitude. It has 39 terms and definitions behind DIY and the sewing. Can I click on it? No. Ta-da! There we go. Okay. So yes, I love this. I love this graphic here that they have all these different terms, 39 of them. And some that are not so sustainable, fast fashion and things like that. All right, let's go back. So I wanted to pull up some case studies on companies that claim to be doing good good labor practices, we'll say, under the people category. So we're looking at American Apparel. So what is American Apparel trying to market? Basic clothes, but made in America. Did that ever register to us when we were first looking at American Apparel? Isn't that strange that maybe in the beginning, I think it was a big thing, oh, made in America, but then all the controversy of how they were using illegal immigrants and they were paying them not fair wages and really poor working conditions. So this is a company that is definitely not doing it right and will go away. This eventually will disappear. Another case study is 10,000 Villages. Has anybody ever heard of 10,000 Villages? Yeah, 10,000 Villages is a retailer, and what they do is they buy from companies that are certified fair trade. Now, my sister, she has registered companies as fair trade. What's the problem with fair trade?
I think fair trade is we'll define fair trade. Fair trade, help me out. What is fair trade to you? When you see the little black and white logo on products, what does that mean? Shout it out.
Livable wages.
Livable wages. Anything else? Fair treatment of workers. Anything else? People, planet, profit.
Probably as well, responsible sourcing of raw materials.
Responsible sourcing of raw materials. Okay. How do you get the label? How do you earn that? Because it's a pretty big branding mark. You see, everybody's familiar with that label. You've seen it somewhere. Starbucks, probably. That's where I see it most often. Fair trade, to become fair trade certified, you self-report. You talk about your business. You talk about your company. You fill out a 50-page application, and you give statistics about your company. And you can say a lot of different things.
You could say whatever you want.
You can say
Amber, what's a livable wage?
Oh gosh,
I don't know.
They say, so this is the living wage is a great question. What is a living wage? We can argue about that in a 1 mile radius from where we stand right now. We can argue about what is a living wage, and we can get a million different answers. When I am thinking about the artisans that I work with in Uganda, what is a living wage? How much money do you need to live? How much money does one person need? How much money does a family of 5 need? How much does a person in New York City need? How much does a person living in Pennsylvania need? There are numbers. Thankfully, the U.S. Labor Department is here doing a lot of research on that and giving us statistics in America. Globally, it's a complex question. So when I answer that question, first I get flustered, then I start going on the UN standards of living, and I pull out some arbitrary number, which is usually under $100 a month, is how they classify a living wage in many developing countries. And this is the UN. This is like a benchmark that I have to use, because that's a benchmark that I have to use. Different fair trade organizations have different standards. Different countries have different standards. The government may have a different standard than the UN does. So fair trade, fair trade is important. Fair trade has teeth. Fair trade has quantifiable measurements and a lot of gray space and a lot of self-definition.
And what happens? We fill out this 50-page document, we send it in with a check, boom, fair trade certified. No one's coming to visit us in Uganda. We would love them to come visit us in Uganda.
I believe in it. Like, I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe in it.
Well, we don't do it. We have not been fair trade certified.
We're working on it.
It has been something that we have pushed and pulled with for a long time. And it's not because the number one reason for us to do it now is our friends who also own fair trade companies, the amount of business that they get through it, the amount of stores like 10,000 Villages that go on the website and say, oh, Bernadette, we found you through there, and then place wholesale orders.
It's a branding.
It's good.
It's a marketing tool. That's what it is. It's not like it's not a government standard of like these eggs came from these chickens.
We should
Like
send in something, a document that is terrible, and see if we
We
can
are preaching at fair trade. We believe in this. We're standing here. At a
We must be
sustainability
activists,
conference,
Amber. We must be
believing in
activists.
institutions.
Moving on. Okay, so we want you to introduce yourself to your friends on your right and your friends on your left and tell them your name. Because for us here today, it's not just about educating you on sustainability, but what I get really excited about is that sustainability is this new industry that we get to create this company culture. I come from the fashion industry. I went to FIT. I worked in the fashion industry for the past 10 years, and it's cold, and it's cruel, and people are not smiling and friendly all the time. But now we have sustainability and this new kind of environment where we can push an environment of collaboration. My fair trade people are very supportive.
Fair Trade Coalition.
New York City Fair Trade Coalition, we are a part of them. And every time they call us up and get us together and introduce us to different people, in the fashion industry, it's very much, these are my designs. This is mine. This is proprietary information. So in the effort of building a more inclusive environment, we ask you to introduce yourself to your neighbor. And we ask you to tell them your name and tell them what you're passionate about. Because I remember when I was at FIT, I was the girl who went to Uganda. And I was the one who was going to make things from recycled materials. And years later, people find me on LinkedIn and say, hey, I see you went to Uganda. I see you've done all this stuff. I have this connection, or I can help you out this way. So if you're passionate about something, let people know, because especially in the sustainability industry, any students that come to me or any people that come to me and say, oh, I'm looking for a job, I go out of my way to help them. I go out of my way to connect them to other people. So I want to keep that culture growing, and it is really something we have to do together. Because sometimes, I don't know if you've been to some fair trade events or eco-friendly events or Made in America events, and they're kind of sneaking in that elitist fashion culture. You need to kind of snap that away. So please introduce yourself to your friend and answer, what is a company that you like that is treating its workers right? We're educating each other at the same time. So we had American Apparel that didn't do it right, 10,000 Villages, which is still a good company. So share with us a company that maybe you're familiar with. Maybe it's an artisan friend in Brooklyn. Maybe it's someone who is fair trade certified and goes overseas and works. But yeah, take a couple of minutes and let us know some of your favorite companies. And Googling is totally acceptable. I know that was why I turned to All right, so if you guys want to answer up here, you can submit an answer, or if you want to raise your hand and let us know what companies you like.
That's my.
So what are you thinking? We're submitting, should we wait a second? Do you do it through an earpod, right? Yeah.
Come on, Nancy, you can do it.
You don't have to submit, don't worry. If you want to answer, we'll take IRL, it's just raising your hand in real life. It's so old fashioned, I don't know if I can handle it. Did you not hear my speech on inclusive culture?
It's about honesty and acceptance and
There are no wrong answers. Only Walmart would be a really wrong answer. However, Walmart's getting organic.
discussion point.
Yes. Tell us, what do you think?
There's a company called Motivanti
Mm-hmm.
that kind of brings together a lot of different designers, and it's similar to the one that you brought up, where you can choose what they call them wellnesses that you prefer, whether it's vegan or whether it's upcycle.
So what kind of companies are there? Are they mainly companies that are producing here in America? Do you know? Yeah. Are they international?
They do have, one of their choices is made in the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
but you've got
There's
all
a
across
lot
the
of
board. It's just some of them are fair trade.
Yeah.
This or that.
I've been kind of going down this rabbit hole of looking for companies. They've both mostly been smaller and owned by women, and they tend to be more luxury companies, which is something I've been thinking a lot about. But I don't know if you've heard of Block Shop Textiles. They do the scarves that are made in India.
I'm the worst person to ask about what other companies are doing. I will admit this right here and now. I am strictly eyes staring at these things all the time, and that's why it's great to have conversations like this, because you're teaching me just as much.
So Block
Block Shop
Block
Textiles, Ace and Jig, they do woven, a lot of yarn, dyed woven clothes, which is also in India. And then I've been hearing a lot about Elizabeth Suzanne in Nashville. But even though I really love these three companies, and I'm pretty sure they're doing great things, they talk about it and kind of like what you both referred to. I wonder if there's a way to kind of figure out more. I guess I could email them directly, but I don't know if you're going to talk about that at any point. They don't have like certifications. They work directly with cooperatives in other countries, but I don't know.
It's really difficult because, so our story, we lived in Uganda for 2 years. And when we travel back and forth, we stay for 1 month, usually the shortest time. And I actually got back yesterday from spending 3 weeks there. And this was I think my 5th or 6th time going. And it was really interesting because I felt like I had hit a new level of understanding their culture. And walking around the town, because it is a pretty big town that we work out of, and seeing other Westerners, feeling I had more in common with my Ugandan partners now than I do with Western partners. Because as soon as I hit the ground, I am Ugandan. I am walking around, interacting, trying to absorb the culture and be a part of the culture as much as possible, because that's the best way to get business done. That's the best way to build that community, because that's the community that I want to continue to live and participate in for a very, very long time. So I see a lot of people who do what we do. They come in for 10 days, they buy products, they work with the artisans, and then they leave. And they don't ever really get a sense of what the culture is about, because Uganda is as far away as you can get from here. There is still witchcraft on the books. It blows my mind still.
Legal, like legally. Not like right, like it's illegal.
I totally tax right off witchcraft. So it's interesting having these companies come in, and the women that we work with, they're a cooperative business that works with other companies like mine. So in Uganda, forgive my words, they call white people Mzungus or Mzungus. So they work with many Mzungus, and they sell things to many different Westerners. So they talk to us and tell us, sometimes they come in, they'll buy things, and they'll leave. And in Uganda, it's all about the greetings. You walk down the street and you greet everyone. You say hello to everyone. It's exhausting. By the time you get down the street, alone time, quiet time does not exist. So I think that these companies, their heart is in the right place, and what they're doing is in the right place according to their own ethics. But I think it's very difficult to actually see the impact that you have on a community unless you live there for a long time. A lot of companies, they will say, a few companies, they'll give school sponsorships. They'll pay for their kids' school fees if you buy this product, right? But maybe they're only allowing school fees to go to orphans. So our women, they say, hey, to my 5 kids, go pretend you're orphans. You need to get some school fees. Go pretend you're orphans. There's not one orphan coming out of Uganda. You can always find family. These are generations of having 15 kids. There's always family to be found in Uganda. So an orphan is a very, very, very rare thing. So totally getting off topic.
Wait, I want to know what Timberland is doing.
Yeah. That is a graphic.
Yeah.
So I'm just focusing particularly on one aspect, which is the way Timberland enables volunteer participation for their workers. I think every worker gets 50 hours of paid volunteer time if they want to go work on a project. So they have their salary for that. And certain workers, I don't know if it's the whole company, after a certain number of years actually can take sabbatical time to go work on it.
Wow. Great. That's great. Costco? Anybody want to talk about Costco?
That's
Okay,
good.
well, I said, they have a better wage than,
High wages.
local.
Here.
Better wages.
Oxfam is what I was thinking.
As a company to work for. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, they're, I like.
Can you tell me what Oxfam is?
Well, it's in the UK, I think it's based in Ireland, but it's all in the UK, and they have similar products to, that can have abilities, but it's much smaller. But the other thing they do in the UK that would be so good to be part of our culture is a charity job. If you've been in cities in the UK, you can't take, more than 100 steps without seeing Heart Association, ASPCA, even charity shops. They reuse things. when their children are done with the toys, this is middle class.
It's like a secondhand, like thrift store.
Yes, it is.
Part of it.
But it's part of their culture. They use it. If they're done with their toys, they take them, and obviously very wealthy, like McDonald's, which is doing that, but it's very normal. That's how they recycle. They have small homes, so they don't want the clutter. So rather than throw it out, they give it to a charity shop. They sell it. So that money goes back to charity.
And wait, I can say Patagonia, but I can't say the two words that are before Patagonia.
Yeah, OCD are kind of similar to the Long Shop. They also go over to I wanted to say Uganda, but I don't know if it's but it's similar, like different techniques over there. Really small, I think it's LA based right now. Small. Yeah.
And Sadie, exclamation point. Everly, exclamation point.
It's the top of
Yeah.
So Sadie's super cool there. Do you guys? They're trying to do the opposite of fast fashion. So not only are they saying that they're sourcing alternatives responsibly and making them as responsibly as possible, they're also trying to create new styles of clothing that won't phase out in 6 months to a year. It's all very classic. It's all classic cut, very flattering. And so Sadie's super cool. And Everlane they're about 100% transparency in all of their, so and on every product page, you can read the factory, where it's made, the town it's in, what it costs them, what the market is, everything.
So it's, yeah.
I just wanna, and you guys may have better MBA words than I do. So I'm gonna describe something and see if you can help me. Zadie, Everlane, EcoHabitude, and who's the other one? They're a company that takes products from other companies and they aggregate them. Is that right?
Make a marketplace.
They make a marketplace. Anybody? Merchandise. So they they keep the other brands. So if A Bernadette sells with EcoHabitude, they're selling A Bernadette products under A Bernadette's label. With it, so a lot of the companies that we're talking about now, I just noticed are falling under this category of companies that gather other people's products, maintain the label. What's the technical term for that? Is there a technical term for that? Department store. Well, yeah.
But an online marketplace for
marketplace.
socially conscious goods. To not get too professor-like, but in order for any customer to purchase something, they must be hit 5 times. That's what statistics say. So if you want to buy a new pair of shoes, chances are you've had to see the TV commercial, you've had to see them in the store, you touch them, you pick them up, but you don't buy them yet. Then maybe you see them on Facebook, then maybe you see them on Instagram, and then the most powerful one is your friend is wearing them. Your friend is wearing them and says, I love these, they're so comfortable. I love these, they're good in the rain. I love these, blah, blah, blah. So as we look at this list where there are some companies that already have a strong reputation and some newer ones, these new ones are going against such, we've all been trained and conditioned to recognize these older brands. So they're really struggling to be able to market and sell their products. To build brand recognition, exactly. So taking a closer look at our second pillar, the environment or the planet, some characteristics, being organic, being vegan, upcycling, recycling, zero waste is a catchword that's become really popular, especially in New York. Does anybody zero waste? Do we know what that means? So zero waste means when I have my fabric and I lay it out and I cut and I make this skirt, I'm going to take the remnants of that skirt, or I'm going to design in a way that there are no leftover pieces of fabric. So I'm using the whole entire thing. And why is it easier? Maybe why are we seeing this emerge from New York and not in Uganda or Bangladesh or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's true in those areas, but I know, for instance, in China, for a long time, people just were automatically zero waste. It was built into the cultures.
Yeah. But we see it more here in New York because of the skills. Because so I went to school first for pattern making. In order to do a pattern that is zero waste, or to come up with all these secondary uses, it's not easy to engineer even your fabric. So our socks that we make, it comes in a tubular form. So that's zero waste because you're making one sock at a time. You're not taking a big piece of fabric. So zero waste is really interesting. And one of the reasons that I am looking at it so much is because I guess 3D printing would go underneath zero waste. For us that don't know, a 3D printer is a normal printer that works with computer software that makes a 3D model, and it takes something that looks like a plastic string, and it actually builds it in a three-dimensional form. So a lot of people are doing 3D printing, like cell phone cases, hard plastic things that we use every day. But there is options in the future. People have made garments, but they're really, couture, high fashion. But the possibility in the future for you to go online, to put in your measurements, pick some designs, and maybe click for a 3D printed dress aren't that far away, I don't think. So I think that's an interesting place to look. Yeah.
Is it 3D printing has moved to or evolved to using other materials than plastic, since that's not waste?
Yeah, I don't think not yet.
Anybody?
Anyone know?
Yeah.
It has. What other?
There's metals, there's all kinds of substrates.
Right. Anything you can meld.
But I also wanted to let you and the firm know that there are universities here in New York that are working with the industry to take waste scraps and break them back down into fiber and reuse them.
Yes. The hard part about that is, so with fibers, each one has a different property to it, and to like re-dye it, it's interesting. I'm definitely interested in seeing how to chop things down, because if maybe you can do it with remnants, but be able to do it with secondhand clothing, I think is still tricky, but hopefully we'll get to that.
In what way are they using the fibers?
Well, they're
Or where does it come
like
from?
at a university setting, they're trying lots of different things. I mean, if you think about the mats that go under rugs,
Mhm.
those
Shod.
they don't need to be redone.
Yeah.
If you think about insulation in cars and all kinds of building materials, those things don't need to be pretty. Mattress interiors of mattresses, they need to be clean. They don't need to be dyed.
Dyed,
They don't need to be
exactly.
beautiful, they don't need to be reworked into garment quality fiber again.
Yeah.
But they're working on even separating blended fibers so that they can reuse those into their parts. But it's a technological, chemical, scientific process to figure it out, and the technology will get there eventually.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think it's great for if we could do more of that in New York City, because working in fashion companies, the amount of waste that just a company that's developing samples produce is like insane. I worked for mostly kids and sleepwear companies, but every single day I would get samples in these poly bags. I would take the sample out. I'm a technical designer. I would measure it. I would fit it. We'd have fit models, and these would get thrown in the garbage. I took these all home and I used these, and people who I still work and friends with in the industry, I tell them to save those poly bags. But all these samples, they get thrown away. All the paper that we print on in New York City, you don't have to recycle as a business. You have to pay for it. So all these big buildings, the building has to pay to recycle. So anytime you're working on 37th Street and there's a recycling bin and you put your paper in it, chances are they're lying to you and it's just going in the normal trash because the building has to pay for it. So all that.
Pay for it. Some buildings pay for it.
It's fashion, baby. I don't know. So I think it's great that chopping down the fibers with samples like that are great because then, like you were saying, you can make new things, but it has a limited use. Yeah, or limited growth.
Why do companies have to pay for their recycling? Is it supposed to discourage people?
One of the benefits as a business, yeah. It's
It's a whole industry in itself. The collecting of materials,
Yeah.
the sorting of materials.
New York City has gotten better, but like even the plastics, remember we used to have to separate plastics. Now they take all the plastics and they separate it for us. So there's still plastic that they can't recycle. And now there's a lot more clothing bins to drop off your secondhand clothing. But sister, what's wrong with that?
Clothing bins.
Yeah.
We don't really know where it goes. They're private companies that own the bins. So sometimes you put your clothing in a bin. Where could it go? Anybody? You ever put your clothing in a bin before?
Well, a lot of times it says charity,
Well, yeah, where do you think
Salvation Army.
Thrift store. Your shirt, you love it. It's gonna hang. Someone else will be like, ah, right. Take it home. Maybe.
Goodwill is a for-profit company.
Goodwill's a for-profit company. If your shirt is probably really pretty. My shirt that I put in the bin has probably been like beat, like holes in it, food stain. Nobody wants that. Nobody's gonna buy that shirt anymore. It could get chopped up. Goodwill could sell it in our country and send it to Sea Caucus, where all good things get chopped up. They could sell it to a middleman. It gets bound up in a big bale, a 1-ton bale, also goes to Port of Newark, Elizabeth, and gets put on a boat and to Africa, Uganda. Like West Africa is broken down, middlemen sell them off. So you see your Little League, Rockaway Township Little League t-shirt in Africa. How did it get there? Because they put it in a bin.
So there's no new clothing stores in Uganda for the most part. There's like 1 or 2 new clothing stores. Imagine living there for a year and going to the markets to do all your shopping, having to negotiate sizes, God knows what, and then for the first time walking in a store that has like rows of things and sizes and prices that are like, that's it, no negotiation. So the secondhand clothing trade that enters Uganda totally kills any ability for them to produce new fashions. Except this past trip, I went to the Nightel factory. There is actually a big clothing factory in Jinja, Uganda, where we stay, and they produce uniforms. Uniforms are a big thing. So that's really one of the only new pieces of clothing that is produced and sold in Uganda.
The used clothing market has undercut a lot of traditional clothing markets, who a lot of tailors in developing countries where people would go and get their clothing made for them. What is that?
Traditional.
No, like
Tenge.
What do you call it when you get your piece of clothing made for you?
Made to measure.
Yeah, instead of that, moving towards secondhand Western clothing, they can undercut that and dumping from China.
Great. But going back, so our case study about the environment. So my friends actually started Flo and Theo. They do soaps. And they're all organic, and we hear a lot of these artisanal soap companies, chocolate companies that are coming out of New York, all the different boroughs. But what's kind of the problem with that? The problem with that is when they grow. How can they grow in a sustainable way? They're making their soap at home. Maybe they will make enough soap to have a bigger manufacturing plant in America, but chances are they're not going to be able to survive that jump, that big step. They don't want to go overseas and produce there because that's when you're sourcing, you have to start to compromise maybe on your ethics and your principles on it remaining organic. Because a lot of these countries that you're producing in, these are factory workers. These are people that, just this past visit, I said to my ladies, I said, do you know why we make things from recycled materials? And we work with them, saw them every day for 2 years, and then for the past 5 or 6 years, they're like, no, Auntie, we just do what you tell us to do. Like, oh, blimey. And I, told them, what happened to the trees that were in your backyard? Oh, I had to cut them down because I sold them for our child to go to school. Okay, so what happened next? Oh, it rained a lot and the trees weren't there to hold the mountain up and there was a mudslide. Okay, so we're talking about the environment. And once we had that conversation, talking about their climate change, because they're so, their day-to-day life is intertwined with the environment. It all
aware of environmental impact.
Exactly. So now saying to them, okay, so we're making these things because in America, describing to them, sometimes people, they go shopping and they buy things and they don't ever wear it and they throw it away. Or sometimes they buy things and they wear it once and then they throw it away. And they were shocked by this because most of their clothing has holes in it and no one cares. No one cares. It's covering me. I'm not naked. I'm not cold or hot. We're okay. So it's interesting when you have to, the cultural differences and that company culture of a lot of these workers are just going to do what they're told, even if they're ingesting chemicals all day long. You know, the factory I went to, they're having masks just to protect yourself from the dust, the fiber dust as you're cutting garments. And I think it's always interesting when people, you know, made in America, and we need to support made in America. I'm a pattern maker. I can only do a pattern for about 2 or 3 hours, and then my back hurts. And it's hard. It's hard work to sew a garment. To make any one piece for myself, it takes days and weeks, and I can do it for a short amount. Then I have to stop because it is not easy work. So this idea that to bringing production back to America, I can't see how that works. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, I just heard something interesting, something I never thought of. My friend works in the jacket business, and it's her dad's company, but they source to make plus size jackets with big margin in America, obviously. But when they have to make it, it's probably the hottest season, summer in India or in Africa, and it's just so much material that people will walk out in the middle of the day and just quit the job because they can't tolerate it. And it's just like along with those conditions, it's also like unbearable heat, and then making those dresses.
Clothing production is hard.
It is very hard. So the other case study, the vegan shop up, they do markets. I'm not too sure how often they do markets, but it's interesting to go and see what they have. And a lot of times the things that they're producing are made in New York City or made in America because they're able to really quality control, make sure that the people that they're stamping as vegan are truly vegan because they can go and you know, take a look behind what is just at their table. And if anyone messes with a vegan person's food, they will die. So I think that high quality standards there. So once again, talk to your neighbor. Let us know of a company that you think is treating the planet right. We'll take a little, maybe like 3 or 4 minutes. So we have 30
bottles of water right here.
Oh, I gave them to our friends. Speaker water.
Oh. Hi, live stream people. I hope you're doing all right out there in internet land.
It's like, super eager,
No, they feel very conspicuous drinking out of a plastic bottle of water in this conversation. I was like, that's why she gave them to you, so we wouldn't be seen slurping. All right, well, who wants to share out?
Yeah, the sake of time.
It's for the sake of time. We love networking and we love you, and we'll have time for networking. Tell us reformation.
They're preaching there across the LA base, and they create all the clothes, and then their social media presence is very much like about the life of the clothes, and then what you can do to reduce your carbon footprint, and they really like sophisticated stuff, but
We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Statistics.
Woo! Statistics.
Anybody else? Anybody else want to share? Yeah.
I have a friend who has a company that's gotten a lot of attention. She's South African. In the Soweto type townships all over Africa. People often live in tin huts, insulated with cardboard and advertisements, and they cook on coal stoves, which are indoors are wildly toxic. So she invented using the women in the township to sew insulated bags.
Woo! We know all about that.
We love her.
Go on,
Sarah.
tell us.
Oh, Wonder Bags.
Wonder bags.
And basically she uses recycled insulation materials, local textiles. The women sew the bags together. You drawstring it, partially cook your food on the coal stove, and then after like 20 minutes, you can stop and put the pot that you cooked it in the bag, drawstring it, and the carryover heat from the insulated bag finishes cooking your. So they save on coal, they save their health somewhat, and it solves a problem.
So we actually got a grant to do solar cooking project, and the people from South Africa came and taught us how to make those bags. So we make our own type of bag like that, and we call them cooking bags. But we bring them here, and we actually fill them with recycled styrofoam here. So it's amazing. Once again, going back to that like collaborative environment, normal companies would say, "Oh my God, you copied our bag design," or "You're copying our idea. We want access to this invention all our own." But they came up and said everybody should have one of these. So our women make them, and they use them in Uganda, and they have a little different ones in Uganda. They have huge ones because they cook a lot of food at once. The ones we sell here in America are a bit smaller, and they have a handle so your pot handle can fit in there. But it's great that they shared that, we say, low-tech gadget with us.
Her company is
Wonder Bag.
Wonder Bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, we call ours a cooking bag. And there's a lot of different varieties.
You can Google Wonder Bag. It might have an essay at the end. Essay from South Africa at the end of the document.
Yeah. It's like a slow cooker that doesn't require outside of the kitchen. Super cool. It helped me make better rice.
No burning rice.
I feel like this is also an interesting question because there are probably more categories like this, but just thinking about it right now, I feel like there are two that are kind of like the more mainstream companies that are going towards more environmentally friendly practices, and then like companies that are coming up with them. Like, I don't know, when I was trying to think about this, one that we had already talked about that came to mind was like Patagonia. I know they've talked a lot about like trying to encourage people to reuse what they already have, but they've also admitted that a lot of their processes aren't environmentally friendly, and like you can see that they are making the effort, but they weren't built necessarily thinking about that from the beginning, more so than other companies. But I think that that's also an interesting distinction, that there are people who are built on that, and then people who are trying to come to it, but not necessarily.
Before this, I had an interesting conversation because a lot of people, seem to say these big companies just need to go away. Even if they have a green initiative, you're unable to really transfer them because their company culture is just too strong. I think they serve a purpose because they are so big and they have so much power to educate. Companies like H&M and their green initiative educated more people. They probably have many more offenses. We know they have many more offenses, but they do serve a purpose. But I think that company culture is so hard to change, so hard to change. I've been at companies that, going in there and how hard it is to, I remember when the factory collapsed in Bangladesh, and I'm sitting there and I was the sourcing coordinator for Levi's, Nike, and Converse. So these 3 brands, we just had the license to do the children's wear. So there's the big Nike corporation, and Nike corporations license off their different divisions. So one company will do their jeans, another company will do other wovens, knits, leathers, whatever. So we just happened to do their kids. So while we were doing their kids, there was not one peep about the waterless dyeing or other Levi's initiatives. All the Nike big corporate talk did not trickle down to our company in any way, shape, or form. So when the big factory collapsed in Bangladesh, and then there was also mudslides, I think, a little while after, and I'm talking to my partners in Bangladesh saying, oh, we need our jeans, our back-to-school jeans in July. I had to go to sales and say, hey, so you're not going to get your jeans for a couple of weeks. And they're mad. And they're like, why? Why aren't we getting our jeans? They're so behind. Why can't they keep up? They've had all these holidays. And I said, no, I think there is a big disaster there. You haven't heard anything about it. So there's a total disconnect between even what a big parent company, their culture will be, and then all the companies that they work with. So it's not simple. It's complex as far as what these big companies are about. I think it's a personal choice whether you're going to give them your dollars. I won't give them my dollars because they don't have my back personally. Like if I go to a Gap and I buy something and I wear it 5 times and it starts to rip or, everything's see-through to begin with anyway nowadays. When I go there and I say, hey, this is crap, can I have my money? They're not gonna do anything. So that's my, thought process behind why I shop where I shop, because my hard-earned money should go to the right place. Okay, so let's move on because we want to get through this. So profitability. Profitability is always, something that we have to talk about. We have to talk about money. We have to talk about how much we're paying our employees and how much we're marking items up, because traditionally garments are marked up 200% from what it actually takes to get them made. So this is a company, Gravity Payments. I don't know if any of you had seen this guy. He was on The Daily Show and a bunch of other places. He decided to pay all of his employees in the United States $70,000 a year. That was their salary, because statistics show that if you pay $75,000 a year to an employee, if you pay less, their happiness goes down. But if you pay any more, their happiness does not go up. 75,000 is that line. So it was interesting as I was researching him, and he seems like such a great guy. Look at his beard, it's wonderful. And he wants to help people. And what he actually does is credit card processing. So when he was younger, his father was in the credit card business and taught him a lot of stuff about it. And once upon a time, if I wanted to process my credit card, it would cost me a lot of money because I would have to go from my business directly to Chase or directly to another bank. But now he's this middleman who, on behalf of, goes in between, and now the price has gone down significantly. So he marketed this as out of the goodness of his heart. He was making over $1 million a year. But if you dug a little deeper, it was him and his brother who started this company. As profits went up, his salary went up, and he would claim that, oh, well, the board approved this. Who's on the board? Him and his brother. His brother did not approve this. So he knew he was kind of in a pickle here because his brother was threatening to sue him. So he thought to himself, okay, well, I could increase all of my employees' salary to $75,000. The marketing the free publicity I'm going to get is going to increase my business so much that it's going to cover any, offset that may happen from reducing my salary and increasing theirs. He won. His employees won. It's an interesting case study to look at, but I think that's where companies have to come from, that it has to benefit the company's profit line. It's not good enough that it feels right. This is the right thing to do, especially for big companies that already exist. So I think that's a way to kind of change the culture of things like Macy's. Once Macy's realizes that if you add more social services, if you add more of a social, community aspect to their department stores, people are going to stay longer and people are going to shop more. So if they give more free services, like if whatever it may be, but they have to realize they have to connect those two things. And they're not yet, because fashion is such a beast that they're always looking to the next 3 seasons.
It's interesting because that was the history of the department store. If you look at, I forget the book, it's that luxury book. The history of the department store was in France, in Paris, after a World's Fair.
Les Bon Marché, the first department store.
Holding on to the people and not letting them go home. Like the Persian guys that brought the rugs. They're like, what if we just stay and we'll give you this space, this big building, and you can have tea, and it was like, we want to visit your homeland.
Like
so
a casino.
Yeah,
They don't want you to get out.
Area. You guys, this is for you. You guys have tea, this is for you. You guys brought furniture, this is for you. And you're going to be able to create this area where people will enter and feel like they're in your home country. And we want you to have tea and little biscuits for them, or whatever it is that you have. So the original idea of the department store was to like enter into another world and feel like you were going into a Persian rug market. And people to the World's Fair, they used to bring like the animals and the carts and like the whole thing.
And now we see this with a lot of mixed event markets in New York. Has anybody ever been what was the Brooklyn Night Bazaar, where you would go in and there's a place to shop, a place to eat, a place to drink. You can get manicures, you can music. The next big thing, somebody should do this, tattoo removal. One guy over there giving tattoos while you're at the market, and the other dude over there taking them off. I swear, if I had some money, I would do it. Okay, so profitability, the other part we wanted to just go over is a cooperative business. Because what I talk to my students a lot about is looking for white space, right? So we look at a market and we see where there's ability for a new product to come, a new problem to solve. And if the business world as we know it did not exist, and you were to create your own business, what would you want it to look like? And that's the thing I love the most about creating my own business, is that I don't have to say, okay, we work from 9 to 6. We work 40 hours a week. We only have 1 hour off for lunch. I get to make up my own rules, because who created those rules? Some men, however many years ago, created an office and said, get in there, sit at your desk, and this is the way it's going to be done. So I'd love to open it up and say, what if you could create a business, if you could create the company culture, and now is the best time to do it when co-working spaces are coming about and things are really changing. So Amber, what is a cooperative business?
What's a cooperative business?
Anybody? She doesn't know.
Anybody?
Well, I know that some cooperative models is that everyone has kind of the same share in whatever the business or model is. So
Share.
everyone has even.
I like that. We're gonna take that word share. Anybody else? Cooperative.
They collaboratively make up the rules.
Collaboratively making up the rules. I like that. I like collaboration and rules like that. Okay. So there are many different types of cooperatives. A basic cooperative business model means that the workers or shareholders, workers are shareholders, shareholders are owners. The business is owned by the people who work for the business. Most cooperatives are worker-owned cooperatives. Some cooperatives open up shares to people who are not workers. That's a different type of cooperative. And the shareholders, one share is one vote usually, vote democratically to decide on procedures, how the business will run, who gets paid what responsibilities look like. So yeah, shares and democratic decision making.
We have 15 minutes. Do you want to show the video or should we keep moving?
Show them, just show what the title of the video.
Okay.
I like the video.
So we think a lot about, right now we are a party of two. In order to be a cooperative, you need a third. So we can't.
3 people can be on the board.
We need another person to pick either of our sides. God help that
Nobody
person.
wants that.
So we think about in the future what it would look like, what that process will be. I think for us, what I think about is if I work with somebody for 1 year, if we take on an employee and we pay them hourly or salary, whatever it may be, and then after that 1 year saying, we're extending an offer to you to become an equal partner. And to some people that may sound crazy, but in reality, I can only take this business so far. My brain and my knowledge, my perspective can only grow it so big. And I truly believe that the best work I will do is when I have a bigger group of people to help me achieve this, and for them to feel as though they can take ownership over it. Because if you're all my employees and we have a copy machine there and there are, endless amounts of paper, you're going to use all that paper and not care about it. But if I tell you that you now own part of this business and that you're going to have to pay for that paper like I'm going to pay for that paper, you're going to use significantly less paper. You see what I'm saying? So I think that overall for a business, when people are invested and they're stakeholders, it creates a better company that can grow in a more sustainable way, for lack of better words. You wanna?
I could go for hours on cooperatives for next year.
But we'll send this to you if anybody wants to take a look at it. So, Amber, you want to?
Yeah. Why do we DIY? I like the next slide.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you shoot.
Fast fashion. Fast fashion, you're all aware of those companies. We talked about Zadie earlier, which is kind of like wants to be the antidote to fast fashion. This is where DIY comes into it. We know that our clothing comes from a place that is not sustainable. We know that the fashion industry does not respect most of the employees. Employees in New York, employees in Bangladesh. We know that this system is designed to be oppressive. What do we do? And the mentality of DIY comes in and says, you can be the actor. You are not a passive consumer. You're not walking through an endless row of solid color t-shirts and you must pick one. Like, there are other choices. And if we feel empowered to be fashion creators as well as fashion consumers, we can disrupt this industry.
So here are just some statistics on what a t-shirt really costs. I think a lot of you guys in the audience I would call early adopters. You are ones who are already on board with changing your consuming habits. You are conscious of the fact that the amount of paper products that you use or the amount of clothing that you buy has an impact not only on your standard of living, but other people's standard of living. So I won't go too much into the statistics. They're here, and we all know how much resources it takes to consume the way we consume in America. So as early adapters, what is your responsibility? You are people who have decided that the sustainability cause is an important cause. It is a cause that not only will improve other people's lives, but it will improve your life because you're more conscious of how you spend your dollars and you can put your dollars to better solutions. I think a lot about how I reward myself. I've had a rough day. What do? Do I go shopping? Not anymore. Do I eat a lot of cookies? Not anymore. Trying to shift your brain to think about how you reward yourself for a good or bad day, I think is really great way to change your consciousness about how you spend your money. I go to yoga when I've had a good or bad day. I go on a long walk. Somebody told me recently, don't glorify busy. Don't glorify busy. And I love that. I love that. Because so often in New York, I say,
I got this on video.
what's going on? I'm so busy. Now I try to say, I'm chilling. I did work today, and to balance out, to feel rewarded that I did an hour of emails is equivalent to reading a book for an hour. How in my brain can I justify those two things and get them to a point where they're equally as important? So what can you do? As early adopters, I said, these are things that you can do immediately. So you can buy secondhand. Secondhand clothing is amazing because somebody's already lived in it and they have already tested it. So I know that this jacket is not going to tear apart immediately as soon as I get it home because somebody's already kind of tested it out for me. I love that about secondhand clothing. Learn to tailor your clothes. Learn to tailor your clothes. If something rips, learn how to sew it. We do these, I teach sewing classes. We live up in Harlem, and we're actually, our plan is to do a crowd funding campaign to have a secondhand clothing swap in conjunction with like a little tailor shop. So instead of you coming in doing a buy-sell trade, we're gonna do like a membership for swap. So say we're a shop, you pay $20 a month, you can come in and swap out clothes whenever you want, or you can come and use machines and learn how to sew and tailor. So it takes me to the next part. Host a swap party. I just went to a swap party in Madison Square Garden. Was anybody there? It was so cool. I was like, we've made it. We're in Madison Square Garden. On the floor of the basketball court, they were doing yoga. It was the weirdest yoga I've ever seen. They had all ethical vendors around, and they had a huge clothing swap in the lobby. And it was great. People came, they dropped off clothing. That's all you had to do was bring at least one item of clothing, and you could take whatever you want. I do clothing swaps all the time. And it's just, it's very interesting too. We've done them out of my apartment with 10 people of all different shapes and sizes, and everybody always finds things. Because for some reason, that little girl loves things that are oversized on her, or the tall girl likes things that are teeny tiny. And the next thing is, so support companies that are doing it right. I think we're all there searching for companies that are doing it right and asking us those tough questions. Are they really doing it right? How do we know? I think it is great to email them and to see if they respond. Go and visit them. I tell a lot of people, if you are interested in starting your own company and you're unsure how exactly to do that, instead of diving in and spending thousands of your dollars, come to a company that is similar to mine and say to them, hey, I want to learn. I want to invest in your company. I have a friend who does vegan shoes. And instead of saying, oh, I want to be an intern, go to her and say, I'm thinking about starting my own thing, but I'd like to learn from you first. Can I invest in your company? I will donate this amount of time or this amount of money. It sounds kind of crazy to pay somebody to work, but when we started our company, we had been living in Uganda and working for another company. Those first 2 years are invaluable.
To learn.
we got to learn on their dime and mess up and see how to work in Uganda and what not to do and what designs will work and about our market. And that was the best investment ever, to go there and to learn from people who are on year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because it gave us a jump start when we started our own company. So don't compromise. Don't compromise on your values. I know you need a bathing suit, and I know H&M sells bathing suits for like $3 now. But go online. There's a lot of resources, ethical bathing suits. Right now, there's just a burst of companies that are doing amazing or opening up different markets, and email them and say, hey, I'm kind of concerned. I want to buy this. What's your return policy? Or if something isn't as nice as I thought, can I return it? Because that's kind of the nervous part right now about supporting these new businesses, is the fact that they don't have a reputation. Their return policy, you don't know if you're going to get your money's worth. But start that communication with them, and they'll be really open to answering any questions, I promise. Buy less, buy things that are seasonless, buy things that are better quality, support artisans who are going to stand behind their practice, and like I said, be that early adopter. So we just have I really love this video. I just want to see how many minutes it is. It's 3 minutes. So we're going to end with this. In my classes, every single morning, I start with a School of Life video. Everyone should write this down. The School of Life. The School of Life is a British company, and they put together videos like this that help us answer these tough questions about ethics, relationship, love, work, understanding. And I watch these often to kind of inspire myself to stay true to my own ethics and values. So we'll watch this, and then at the end we'll show you some of our products, and that will be it.
Many of us want to become entrepreneurs. Starting your own business is one of the biggest dreams of our times. But how do you get to be an entrepreneur? Most of the advice focuses on the practicalities: writing a business plan, raising money, finding staff, marketing and PR. We'll go down a different route. In our eyes, at the heart of successful entrepreneurship lies something oddly more abstract, an accurate insight into the causes of human unhappiness. To be an entrepreneur means essentially to become an expert in the things that make life difficult for people. That's because every properly ambitious business is in some way trying to fix things for other people. And the bigger and more original what trying to fix happens to be, the more successful your business can be. Because consumer society is now well developed, it may be easy to think that all the big problems out there already have thousands of fixes anyway. Think of all those car companies or pizza outlets or news websites. We surely have enough of everything. What could we possibly add to what's already out there? But to get a sense of the vast opportunities that still remain in capitalism, all you need to do is ask yourself where and in what areas you're unhappy in the course of an average day. Every unhappiness is really a new business waiting to be born. Your frustrations are a nearly inexhaustible source of raw materials out of which the businesses of the future can be built. So while there may already be plenty of breakfast cereals and t-shirts and cell phones and cab rides for sale, there's so much more that frustrates and depresses us. Think of how difficult it is to get on with one's partner, educate children, cope with anxiety, discover what you want to do with your life, find a nice place to live, calm down in the evening. One could go on and on. Our griefs and irritations are endless. Thankfully, for the budding entrepreneurs. The biggest first step to take towards entrepreneurship is therefore to learn to study your own unhappiness and what might possibly heal it for you and others. When profits decline in businesses, it's really the result of too many people throwing themselves at trying to fix the same area because they can't think of anything more innovative to do rather than start a new airline, mobile phone company, or supermarket chain. And by contrast, healthy profits are a reward for understanding and mastering an area of human distress ahead of anyone else. Of course, ideas aren't enough on their own. You need to take care of practicalities and money. But they won't help you if your original psychological insight into human unhappiness isn't sound. And by the same token, if your insight into what makes people unhappy is razor sharp, and your solutions bold, then however difficult the journey, your business will stand a high chance of making money and benefiting humanity too.
So I hope this inspires you to take your own problems, your own life difficulties, and figure out how to infuse passion and a solution for them. So for me, it was having that realization that all the clothing I've ever worn is still on this planet. Realizing that all the clothing you've ever worn is still on this planet. So what we do is we make things from recycled materials. So these bags here, these are made from plastic packing straps. We go to a factory in Uganda and they take these straps that are used to bundle the clothing up, or here in America come around a box of like a refrigerator or TV or whatnot, and they take them and they weave them up and they make these bags that are super durable, we say indestructible. And I said this would literally be rubbish. Our new thing is we just started to do Velcro straps on the back, so now it's a bike basket. Our next thing is we do bracelets. So these are made out of plastic bags, and on the inside it's this grass that grows by the Nile River. What we started to do is we wanted the story to go everywhere with you. So we actually have a YouTube video, a DIY YouTube video, where you can take old fabric, you iron it to freezer paper, and the fabric just goes through your desktop printer. So now you can create your own labels on fabric, and you don't have to go to a factory that the minimum is like, 150 or something like that. So we're able to make these little things to our products. Same with the headbands here. These are made out of palm leaves, or we say palm fronds, if you want to be fancy. So this is the traditional weaving technique that women in Uganda use. And once again, we have the story on the inside to tell what it's made out of. Our latest is getting an update. Will you open this up, sister? So this we call a bag and bag. So you open it up, and it's a tote bag. And it's got a little pocket. But this was, as we say in Uganda, somehow cool. I wanted to take the idea of doing the labels on the inside. So now our 2.0 version, for the market we'll be doing in August, actually has statistics on it. So the statistics that you see here, we're going to print on the bag. So as I'm walking around, my clothing is speaking to you, literally. It's yelling at you. Sorry. It's saying the average American throws away 70 pounds of clothing every year. 20% have never been worn. So I want my clothing to literally speak to you. My dream someday when I have my own fashion show, you'll be walking down, you'll see this beautiful outfit made from recycled materials, of course. And on the back, we'll have some sort of sign like this, talking about whatever cause is important to me in my heart at that moment. It's almost like a soft slap. But I think it's important to communicate as much as we can. Our last thing here is little coffee cozies. We just got a whole bunch of these back from Uganda. So we took fabric that was donated to us from, I used to work for a little girl dress company. And they donated the fabric, and we brought it to Uganda. So now they're little coffee cozies, and each one's different and unique because it's recycled materials. We say they're reversible for day to evening wear. And in the middle, it's actually filled with plastic bags. We take plastic bags and we iron them together, and that's what keeps your hand from burning. We did a lot of research and development on this. And then once again, we took our little labels. So this used to be an old sheet, and we printed on it saying what it's made out of. So packaging is just as important for your material, for your products as possible. So I have a book here if anybody would like to leave us your email, because we send out a newsletter, I think, once a month saying different workshops we're giving, or different lectures, or different markets we'll be at.
I got a compliment on your newsletter the other day.
Oh,
from
really?
somebody at Wix.
And then this is also our latest design that will be coming out. So we did arm knitting. So we taught arm knitting workshops in Harlem, and now the women just did this. I just brought this back. And we actually partnered with Kenneth Cole. Kenneth Cole donated a bunch of fabrics to us that would normally just be thrown away. And we bring the fabric to Uganda, and we sew them up into different styles now. So we're slowly going into apparel, but I'm slowly backing out of it. Because the world does not need any more skirts or t-shirts and things of that sort. But things like this opens a conversation about resource awareness. This opens a conversation about plastic bags. So we'd like our products to start that conversation and deepen that conversation into all different areas. So that's it. That's all we got. Thank you for being here and participating. If anybody would like our contact information, what we do is we actually have a business card, and you can take a photo of it. So I'm going to put our business card on the back table if anybody wants to take a photo of it. But feel free to come up and introduce yourself.
I've got a second. They come in Texas. 50,000.
Thank you.
I think I heard about you actually on the No Passer.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. I met her all times. But I don't know if there's anything I can help with. But I think we need volunteers for something like any of your
Where do you live?
I'm in Clinton.
Okay, so we're actually infiltrating for Snoop this summer. That is our plan. We're in just one of them. So we're